In this video today, you're gonna see me do some call review breakdowns of one of my top reps named Dan, who's on pace to make about 400 grand this year in straight commissions at the age of 18. So if you're a sales manager, take some notes here on how you can potentially train your team. If you're a sales rep, take some notes right now on some skill sets you can pick up and techniques you can pick up from this call review.
Okay, so this is a call with an older gentleman.
Okay.
Let's say older prospect. I ended up closing it, but it took way too long to do so. I pitched him a 15K, which was a deal, but he had around 10 on a credit card. I got him to take a credit card, but he only did 5, which was like humongous objection handling. 2 parts we can review. One was just the consequence phase. So took way too long on just re-looping and re-looping on consequence, and objection handling, which was humongous.
Yeah, okay.
We can go, let me grab objection. Or which one should we do?
Let's do consequence first. Let's do it from where you ask it.
Okay, here.
Realistically, what happens if you don't achieve that?
How does that finger go up or hand or whatever on the? You see how that?
Yeah,
where did that come from?
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Anyway,
Yeah.
well, I guess when I look at the grand scheme and the context of stuff, right? I know everything will be all right. Like heaven forbid if I cacked out tonight, life's going to be okay regardless, and I'll be dead, right? So it's more to do with it's just something that I want to do because in the grand scheme of things, I'm just one person doing my thing. And so it's not like, and that maybe is a bit hard because it's not like someone has a fire under your butt and go, you're going to die a failure if you don't do it or anything. It's more just like every so often I say to myself, I don't worry about 20 years. I look at a 1 to 3 year plan in my life and say, what do I, if I can create anything, which I believe I can create anything.
So pause. You got to add in verbal cues. This is one thing I've noticed in your calls, even with other ones you've showed me, you don't verbal cue a lot. So it's like, oh, okay.
Okay, there's
Right.
been more of it. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, man, but what if you don't? Right. Okay.
So just interject a lot more.
Yeah, I think interjecting in, but I think interjecting, it's kind of like the cat before the mouse or like the chicken before the eggs. It's like, I sort of need to have verbal cueing because when you verbal cue, it's like, yeah. Okay. And what do you mean by that? Okay, no, for sure, dude. Right. And what if you don't though? Like, what happens if you actually don't? So when you verbal cue, you sort of have the ability to interrupt quicker. That's one way we can literally shorten up your call time without changing maybe much. It's just literally verbal cueing.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, play.
I think I do it a lot more over the phone. I don't know why I do it less.
I think part of it's because Zoom's on, but if anything, when you're on calls, besides looking at the other person, which you're probably fixating onto them, which is why you're not paying attention to yourself, have kind of the balance and the awareness of how you're interacting.
Okay, sure.
What is it I'd like to create with the next year of my life, right? Like, what do I want to be celebrating 6 months from now, right? What do I want to be celebrating a year from now? What are my hopes and dreams in the next 6 months to a year, right? And then just start working towards that, right? So in other words, if you guys all fell off the planet tomorrow because you won $80 bazillion, it would be like, great, good for you. Somehow, somewhere, I'll figure it out, right? Because I was doing a role play where I was the prospect, right? And it was an appointment center. And I don't know if I told you, where it got to the point about would you invest, right? So
yeah, so I just would have verbal cued. I think if you verbal cued, you could have fixed that because you know how to do it and you know how to reloop. But I would have fixed that.
So I'm playing the prospect, but it really was me. I'd say, well, I don't know what it cost, right? And at first, the person wasn't supposed to tell me, but then eventually they told me the range, right? We're just making all this up, right? And they were almost getting mad at me, right? So I said to him, I do agree that I have a problem. Right, and this week we were saying that it was a capital gains issue.
Okay,
I think in that mentality.
I allowed him to go way too often.
Can I make a suggestion there? Yeah.
Yeah, I think in that mentality, right, and that way of thinking of okay, I am going to achieve my goal no matter what. There's good and there's bad to that, right? There's some that's good, there's some that's bad. I'll give you an example for me. I was a 16-year-old in Brazil.
Yeah, you see, that's where you're messing up. Is I get where you're going, I get why you're doing it. And I think there are points to do it, but why did you do vulnerability, tactical vulnerability there? What was the point of it? Tactical vulnerability as a 16-year-old, and you talking referencing you as a 16-year-old compared to this guy that's in his 60s, makes no sense. All right, so what that tells me is you don't know why you did it. So when are you supposed to be tactical vulnerability? When do you do that?
I guess it's not, very much instinct-based.
So tactical vulnerability, when you're hey dude, this is what happened to me and you try to relate to somebody, there has to be a sense of similarity, right? So it's tactical vulnerability is somebody being my daughter passed away and somebody being hey dude, my son passed away, I get it. Tactical vulnerability is I have a partner and it's I get making a decision without him or her. when you're tactically vulnerable, you have to do it with a specific intention. You doing tactical vulnerability as like a fucking 18-year-old to a 60-year-old, like terrible idea, okay? All I think you have to do in that moment is be like, just like you started off, hey man, like there are good things to have when you have that never give up attitude, but there are pros and cons to it. And so I'll kind of describe it to you this way. Like if you look at somebody like an overweight person who really wants to lose weight and they have big goals, like they sort of have to have that attitude, right? Of like never giving up and like being able to lose the weight. But there is the other side of the coin of they have to create big consequences of not hitting those goals. Otherwise, there's always the good diet starts on a Monday, new year, new me. And so my thing to you right now, man, is like, it's not a question of giving up or not, but it's a question of understanding the consequences that even pushes you greater. So again, dude, like what if you don't?
Fair. Yeah, fuck.
Right? So like you could have easily done like a quick analogy, looped into it within like literally 20 seconds, dude, and you could have looped into it back.
Yeah, like look at
If you can just like add in verbal cueing and just get very conscious on like why you're doing what you're doing in every aspect. And again, the way you start off the beginning of your call, because you're not getting straight inbound leads, a lot of these leads are turning into sales, so I get it. Yeah. And that's where it's going to be different. But like if you can just work on like sort of the angle and you can just work on shortening it. So keep the base of the call the same in terms of how you start it. Right. But then like you can start making these types of parts a little bit slicker, a little bit smoother. So again, what point took me like 3 minutes? How do we do it in a minute? So like this right here, all of this, from what it seems like, probably took you about a minute 30. We could have done this in 20 seconds.
Fair, sure.
That's the type of shit you want to optimize for. And so like when you look at it throughout a call, let's say there's 10 sections, right? Where you're like, oh, dude, 3 minutes. And that's the thing, it's like little sections that add up and then you realize I spent 30 to 40 minutes over explaining. Figure out like 3 or 4, right? 2 to 3 where you're like, okay, I can fix that right away. And then just fix it and compress it.
I like that. I think because I have to be more conversational in the beginning.
Sure.
Because it's like, it's kind of like I'm framing it towards as the call goes on. I kind of keep that throughout the whole call. Would you just like?
I think you can keep that, but I think at the same time, if you add in verbal cueing, which I think will benefit you a ton, you'll probably end up doing less explaining while still being able to talk and explain the same point. So you can still do the initial part, talk and do the same thing, but if you add in the verbal cueing, it'll just give you more control. More control equals more speed.
Fair, yeah. True.
Okay.
Yeah, because I can make sure they're not going on fucking tangents and shit. How would you transition from that? So like start off very conversational, like, yeah, what's up, bro? It's been a bit since we, or whatever, like more conversation in the beginning versus the very strong frame as the call goes on. Because I have frame because I have authority in the call very strongly, but I can't control them as much and control that. Like aside from the verbal cues, like how would you go about it from the beginning of the call versus then, like as I transition to the call?
Maybe the only difference I think I would say is like again, verbal cueing is a big part of it, but then as we go deeper and deeper into the call, my questions will be a lot more concise without much explanation or rapport building.
Okay.
So beginning of the call, you might do a little bit more justification, a bit more rapport building, a bit more like that. Totally fine. As you go deeper and deeper throughout the call, because again, your leads aren't straight inbound, but it's the same concept as like when you're kind of transitioning into that, you need to get more concise with your line of question. If you're a salesperson and you want to get more information on how you can get this type of training, there's going to be a link down below to join our VIP program. It's $97 a month. We give you a free course and we give you access to 8 coaching calls a week where we'll not only build your script, but we'll do call reviews. And if you're a manager that wants more one-on-one support of how you can build this with your sales team, there'll be a link down below where you can apply for an audit where I can audit your entire training system internally and build one out for you customly. We'll see you on the next video.